What's up, guys, and welcome back to 8 Count. Guys, we're back with another video, and we'll be breaking down the Canelo Alvarez vs John Ryder fight that happened at the early hours of this morning, and what's my thoughts on it. So firstly, obviously we know that Canelo, it went to a 12 unanimous decision, quite clearly to Canelo in Guadalajara. It was his homecoming fight. But what a heart, before I say anything else, what a heart that that John Ryder has. He has probably put the best performance as a Brit against, Canelo. And it's one of those things where I think it's like seven British fighters, I think, don't quote me on this, have fought Canelo, and Canelo's beaten everyone. And everyone was thinking that, to be fair for Canelo would probably stop him after 2 or 3 rounds. But, the round 9, the heart that he had, and the way, even he had a busted nose in the second round, and the end of the second round, and he got caught with the uppercut. And it's one of those things that he was bleeding, and it was just a blood fest that was happening. It was probably be enjoying for the fans. But if you ever had your nose broken, or anything to do with your nose, it's really hard to breathe. When you're breathing out your mouth with blood in it, it's tremendously hard. But he just kept coming back. It was never ever a situation in the fight where Canelo was throwing combinations and he couldn't answer anything. He was coming back with the jab, Ryder was coming back with the jab. And I think his stock has risen. His stock has definitely risen. And this is one of those fights for John Ryder's career where he will get better. I know he has 5 losses on his record, 3 of them have been questionable. But this is just going to propel him because, I think it's his second win and he can get a few more big paydays and big fights and go on to win bigger and better things. But yeah, saying that, let's get straight into the fight in terms of like how I thought the fight went and how my assessment sort of fight went. I felt like in the initial rounds, Canelo was quite spiteful. He was pot-shotting, I think he was a bit cautious with his hand. But I just felt like he didn't really respect Ryder that much. I don't know if he took him for granted. But he kept walking in and he was getting hit. Canelo was getting hit. And I felt like over the years, after the Danny Jacobs fight and the Caleb Plant fight, we were mesmerised by his head moving. But I feel like he's starting to get hit a bit more. He's a bit flat-footed now. And I feel like maybe I might be wrong here, but my assessment felt like after the second round that he feels like he can just walk through anyone. And that is not the case. If you see the Triple G first fight, he was on his bike and he was moving around. And I feel like he needs to use his leg a bit more. Otherwise, he's going to come against someone, especially Bivol. He will get to that. He wants to fight next. Like, they hold power and you just can't break someone. Sometimes you just can't. But yeah, he was pot shot in and then he was hitting him and it was really every punch sounded like, it was Canelo, like, boom, boom. And it was just so vicious. It was so like, and it was, you knew everything landed, and Ryder was trying to get up close, was trying to smother him, using his, tactically using the southpaw stance, trying to smother him. But it was so, Canelo was that good, but at the same time, it wasn't, I always thought he would make a statement, but obviously he couldn't, maybe because of his hand. Another point that I know that I want to sort of go towards is the fact that Canelo, apart from the Caleb Plant fight, after that fight, he doesn't have this like one-punch knockout power. The last time we saw this one-punch knockout power was probably against Kovalev, who was really deteriorating, or against Amir Khan. But like, these are big boys, and like I feel like Canelo needs to start utilizing a bit more of these combinations they used to have earlier on in his career, where you could set it up, but then you can land a few more hard shots that could finish the job. Right now, it's just 1, 2, and then, really 1, 2. So, like, he reminds me a bit of, like, who was a fighter? But he fought Billy Joe Saunders, and he lost in Canada. If you guys know, let me know the fight. But he reminds me of him, where it's just vicious. It's just like every punch is coming at 90 miles per hour with the same power, the same intensity. And I just feel like maybe at this fight here, because he had a bit more room, Canelo should have showed a bit more boxing skill. Should just outboxed him, making sure he doesn't get hit. It just made it a cruise fight. But hey, he's got the win. Um, I do feel like towards the end of the run he did sort of tire out. I don't know why he looked a bit heavy on his front foot. He was just holding back, sort of just waiting. But I think he sort of underestimated Ryder's grit and heart, to be fair, and maybe that's what he just couldn't get mentally over. But now obviously looking to onto better and better things. One thing I just want to say, the entrance was amazing. Like Canelo's homecoming, honestly, it was the entrance was crazy. So yeah, that's a really good entrance. I haven't seen it in a long time, since I think like Mayweather days. But Canelo wants to fight Bivol next, which is quite clear. He said he wants to fight the same rule. How do I feel like it? You know what? If Canelo needs to beat Bivol, he needs to outbox him, but he has to be light on his feet and he has to land power punch. He has to be like a boxer fighter sort of thing. Because if he takes the same approach of just walking him down and trying to land, trying to just fight it's going to be the same fight all day. He has to throw like point scoring punches, if that makes sense. Like sort of, what the judges can see. And sometimes you can't break it. And you saw how like Bivol's got that European stance where he just out. He just like really light on his feet and just hitting. And like Canelo sort of needs to like use that and just try to maneuver around it, and maybe he can get the decisions. I would have liked him to see against Benavidez. I would have thought stylistically that was a really good match, and I feel like that proves more for his career. But obviously he wants to rematch, Bivol, which I can completely understand because he lost against him. And to be fair, if he does beat Bivol, then we have endless opportunities. But I just feel like Benavidez should get his chance now. He's gonna be, both of them are Mexican, and like it's just gonna be the way that the tank of Benavidez in the later rounds, it's quite good. But I would probably give it out of like a 8 out of 10, 7, 8 out of 10 of Canelo's performance. John Ryder, I can still see him, going back to the drawing board and fighting the likes of Bertobiev, or like maybe like he can fight like someone like Ramirez. Do you know what I mean? He's a good fighter and he can be in really good paydays. Andrade, if I don't know where he is right now, but it was a solid performance. And I can't take nothing away from it. It was a good homecoming fight. But yeah, let me know guys what you think of the fight, and how did you see the fight going, and who do you guys think who should fight next?